Oh shit, it's showtime. Welcome to the coaches meeting. That's the coach. I'm Grant Cohn. We are going to see, I think people are looking at this Niners offseason content time as like, oh, you know, we're just going to be talking about Brock Purdy's contract. No, absolutely not. We have plenty of time to talk about that. What I want to talk about is the Robert Salah effect on this team, at least now, because he's back and he has his own vision for what this defense should be. It's been three coordinators since he's been here. There's been a lot of players brought in. We don't know how he's going to look at this defense. So we're going to try to look at it through Robert Salah's eyes since we know him. He's essentially our cousin. He's back. And we're going to talk about the draft. But before we get to the draft, I want to ask you, Coach, will Robert Salah and the 49ers re-sign Javon Kinlaw?
No, they will not. And I was of the thought that it was going to happen. When it first kind of came, I thought it was going to happen. But no, I think that drafts take themes. In this year's draft is D-line. You can find guys like Javon Kinlaw in this year's draft. I mean, you want to find somebody better than him, but you can find the same body type. I mean, there's guys all over the draft right now. If you're looking at a guy that's a big kind of like Javon Kinlaw type dude, you can go all the way to Alfred Collins, 6'5" guy out of 321. So you want somebody that's 6'5", 300 pounds, looks like a Greek guy, but has a slow first step. Have at it. Alfred Collins, eat your heart out. We can find, that's the main point, is that we can find.
And they compare him to Javon Kinlaw on NFL.com.
Say it again?
They compare him to Javon Kinlaw on NFL.com.
Do they really?
Yes, they do.
You're lying. Are you saying that to make a joke?
Hold on. I went down a rabbit hole yesterday. Alfred Collins was one of the defensive linemen I looked up, and if I remember correctly, yes.
Right.
I glanced early. NFL comparison, Javon Kinlaw. Yes.
Yes.
Second round.
I believe the same thing. I
320.
Yeah. So there's guys around that you could do that with. I mean, for much less money. That's my point. So I think that Javon Kinlaw is one of those guys where you just have to say no. He's like the Chrysler 300. When you first got it, you're like, kind of looks like a Phantom, doesn't it? Kind of looks like a Phantom. And then after a while, the paint job got a little dusty. You had a fender bender, and it's like, dude, it's a 300. Let it go. Let it go.
Let me make the case for bringing Javon Kinlaw back. Let me make the case, but this is biased because me and him go back and we're friends. So
you can make the head case for bringing him back. What are you talking about, Grant?
Everyone knows that me and Javon are like this, but I want to make the case for him bringing him back. Here's the thing.
Let's go.
You know he hasn't missed a game in 2 years. Seriously.
He hasn't?
He has not missed a game in 2 years. Like, to be fair to him, the biggest problem with him in his career was his knee. And it seems like 2 years out, it was his knee and the fact that he probably got overdrafted. But he doesn't seem to be an issue with his knee anymore. And no one cares that he was a first-round pick anymore. And now you could go get him and pay Chrysler 300 price. You could pay freaking Nissan prices. 1 year, $4 million, maybe. He had 4.5 sacks last year. You could sign him and draft a guy. I mean, I just think for the culture and for the locker room, you got to bring him back, dude.
For the culture, what if he came back and was like, Grant, you thought it was over? I'm still on the same time, dog. What's good?
Nah, man, this is an older Javon Kinlaw, man. This is way different. It's going to be...
I mean, honestly, okay, all right. In all honesty, we've gotten all of the jokes out of the way. It would be a viable pick for a backup. He'd be
better than Solomon Thomas.
He would be way better than Solomon Thomas. He'd be a good depth piece. And in our best years in 2019, in 2022, when we had really good elite defenses, even last year, even though we were kind of a shell of ourselves from elitism, we were definitely a very good defense last year. We still had that kind of depth. One thing that I've noticed, literally when we went into this year's training camp was that we were a much smaller team. We just weren't physically imposing. We didn't even look good as far as just being a defensive line that looks the part. Javon Kinlaw, if they brought him in for the right money, he knows where his locker is. He can make it back there. It would be okay. If they signed him, I really wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be opposed.
I would be personally happy. But here's the thing. I think
personally happy.
I would be really personally happy. I mean, but that's that's personal. But the thing about Kinlaw, I think the reason they brought him in, like the idea of having a 320-pound defensive tackle, I think they thought he'd be a great fit in the wide nine. Because if you're 290 like Buckner, you can get moved around a little bit, even if you're a great pass rusher, because you're going to get those duo blocks all the time. Eric Armstead could hold his ground against him at 290 pounds. It seemed like even Kinlaw at 320 had a tough time with that stuff because he was like trying to anchor on one leg. He had one knee that was compromised. It's a tough job. Maybe Alfred Collins is more cut out to do it. And if you draft that guy, it's 4 years and it's cheap. So yeah, bringing in Kinlaw could work, but he may not be like necessarily your 3-down starter.
No, that's one of the things that frustrates me with Javon is that for the size, for the optics, he leaves a lot to be desired. Even if you had him, you can't use him on passing downs. You would only need him to be a true run stuffer, right? To be able to come in and take over first and second down.
Pass rusher than run stuffer, but maybe
you think that crazy. You think he can be relied on third down?
Level hurts him in the run game. Like he doesn't anchor so well. He's not great at taking on double teams, but like one-on-one, he can sometimes win.
Like, you know what you sound like? You sound like describing Luther Vandross's S-curl. It didn't really. It never really. I mean, it was there. It was shiny, but
never had the pad. I mean, unless I didn't watch him that much with the Jets. I saw he had good numbers and he didn't get hurt. He's always had an issue with pad level, and I feel like that hurts you more in run defense than pass rush. You can kind of pop up and like Alden Smith had terrible pad level, but he was a great pass rusher.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I don't think we'd be dependent on him to do anything but just come in, and actually be a second string guy. We got
a lot of those already.
Yeah. I don't know, man. For the right price, right price. And really, honestly, I could see Javon Kinlaw going somewhere where he has I feel like his workload would be shrunk down a lot to, hey man, we need you to just come in here and rush the passer on first down. Like we want you to come in here and on third down, just stay in your gap. I think we have bigger problems than that. He would have to come here and actually play.
Do you think he'd want to come back?
No, not with Eric Armstead gone.
Interesting. It's a very different team.
It's a very different team. Some players have actually said that the environment is what I say more comfortable is what some people have said on the team.
Well, so it's a very important time.
It's a very serious time right now.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
A good time to be great.
Well, Javon, we cordially invite you to come back to the 49ers. He could go to the Falcons. Jeff Ulbricht's over there. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to play a game with you. Keep or cut.
Play a game.
Let's try to look at the defense through Robert Saleh's eyes. They've added a lot of pieces to this defense. He had no say in guys coming and going. Now he gets to remake it in his image. I'm sure he has personnel power. He's the highest paid coordinator in the league. So player for player, let's go through it. Keeper cut or keeper let walk. Dre Greenlaw. What do you think Robert Saleh would want to do here?
Keep. Why? Well, one thing about Robert Saleh is that before we get all schematic, I think he leads with his culture, the culture of the defense. I believe that Dre Greenlaw right now, in a sense, he still needs to be protected from himself. Even if Dre Greenlaw took a deal that was 1 to 3 years, it would be a deal that would have a lot of outs in it because anybody who would take him on would understand that his injury history is something to be concerned about. That probably could be corralled here. I think that Dre Greenlaw playing under Coach Salah, understanding that this is a younger player. I mean, understand this is a guy that he was under as a younger player that knows how to use him, and he's going to be utilized the right way in order to play the type of defense that he's already knows. It would be something that, it's kind of like kindred spirits of like, hey man, we know each other. Right now, your career, Dre Greenlaw's career is in flux right now. And it's not in flux from a standpoint of getting money. It's in flux of the standpoint of actually having a legacy. Before Dre Greenlaw got hurt, we were kind of looking at him as having a trajectory as being one of the best linebackers in the league, right? I'm not here to say that that's completely gone, but attrition is real. It's up for grabs, and I really believe that if Coach Salah was able to sit Dre down and get him to understand that right now movement isn't really what you need right now. You kind of need to stay put, and just a little bit of patience can go a long way in your career. And we're not here to say that 49ers are here for you need to be here forever, but if you're going to rest, if you're going to rejuvenate your career and prove to everybody that you're the same guy, why not do it with a coordinator? Why not do it not only an environment that you're used to, but have a coordinator that's over top of you that you're going to get your reps. So I think that's what I would say to Dre if I was Robert Salah.
I think so. I think Robert's going to want him because he knows him. There's a lot of guys on this defense he's never coached before, has no exposure to, no connection to. But with Greenlaw, drafted him, developed him, sort of got him paid. They have a whole relationship together. And I think it's going to be hard for Salah to let him go, even though he's older. He's been injured. He's missed a lot of time. He's fast, and he could be expensive too. But here's the thing. I'm sure the Niners would love to offer him like a 1-year deal, $6 million, nothing that expensive. But what if there's a market for him? Like, what if other teams are like, would the Niners bid? What if the Commanders and Adam Peters offer him 2-3 years, or the Texans? Do you think the 49ers would be that eager to bring back Dre Greenlaw? Or do you think they'll say, you know what, we got to sign Brock? Sorry.
No, I don't think there's an either or when it comes to Brock as far as signing Dre Greenlaw. I believe that the either or for Dre Greenlaw is between him and Huff. I believe that that's the real issue. And in that ilk,
think they'd be comfortable giving Greenlaw like a multi-year deal?
Not now. I don't think they would.
You think Greenlaw will get it?
Yeah. I think there are some teams out there that if they're winners, like the Commanders, they are the sexy spot of the offseason for any and everybody right now. They got money, they got a quarterback, and they got wins. So right now, that's the holy three when you're looking at free agency right now.
We already know Brandon Ayuk wanted to be on that team.
He said it all off season, right? So yeah, there's going to be teams out there that are going to give Greenlaw. They're going to give Greenlaw really, really good deals. And to be honest, he really just needs rest. The audition was already made. The first 2 games he plays, he was Dre already. I tweeted it. After his first game, I would have sat him down. Like, he looked amazing. There was no reason to just let him just literally fall apart in front of our eyes. I do believe that he probably does get some multi-year offers from different teams. I think that having Robert Salah is honestly, he's not only our trump, I think he's the only card that we can play to keep Dre here. If somebody was to offer him that kind of money, there's really nothing here that would keep him here outside of Coach Salah sitting him down and having a one-on-one with him.
Remember when Salah first got this job, he took over the worst run defense in franchise history. They'd given up 2,600 yards and about 25 rushing touchdowns. The first thing he did was draft Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. Now, neither player worked out, but you can see where he was coming from. Let me get a big D end who can play D tackle and a violent weak side linebacker. So Dre Greenlaw is very important to this defense. It was soft without him. When he came back, it was the defense we remembered. My only thing is I feel like Salah and the Niners are going to say, boom, he showed he can do it. He's coming back. Give him a full offseason. He'll be Dre again. We're going to sign him. Maybe. The other thing you could say is, hey, man, he didn't play a full game. He played a half, and then he played a drive, and now he's going to be 28, and you're going to give him a 2-year deal, and he could play 4 games this year. Again, we don't know.
Another reason why I believe that the short deal is advantageous for the Niners, too, is that it allows us to see another year with D Winners as well, to see how that bears out.
What do you think of D Winners?
I think D Winners, he grew on me. Earlier in the year, I think the biggest thing for D Winners is that he always had the game speed. I never had a problem with him being able to play. But so does
Mustafa, and we like Mustafa a little bit better, right?
Right. But the thing about D for me is that he just really wasn't closing. He wasn't finishing. He was missing a lot of tackles, taking bad angles, definitely getting out physical in run fits. But I don't know what it is. Maybe he was, splitting time with Devondre Campbell.
To be fair to D, like, what if he'd actually gotten all those snaps? He might have worked through it.
So, and that's what I mean. Like, to be fair to him, guys are rhythm based, where you gotta let them play in order for them to kind of remember the last
why Campbell
play.
Freaked out.
Yeah, but in my opinion, if D Winters kind of takes a leap, in a sense, Dre Greenlaw could be expendable, right? But I don't want to do that. Like I told you on the phone earlier today, we got to monkey bar this. Like, don't let go of one until you got the other in hand. So I would not let go of Dre Greenlaw until I knew that D Winters was a guy.
And that's what's nice about re-signing Greenlaw is, like, it's a risk because you sign him and you think, okay, well, that's not a need anymore. But he could go down at any time with another injury, and then you have a big hole. But as long as you have D Winters, they have a very similar skill set. D Winters is really fast and explosive, not quite as violent as Greenlaw, but getting more violent. The two
very
of them
fast.
could be very fast. And again, Salah's never coached D Winters, but he has worked with Johnny Holland, who has developed D Winters. So I think it's possible that Salah would like him. What about Talanoa Hufanga? You brought him up. Do you think the Niners keep or let Talanoa Hufanga leave?
I think they let him walk. When you find a guy like Malik Mustafa, it's not the fact of, for me, it's not, oh, we got Malik Mustafa, we can pair him with Huff. I mean, in my eyes, it's like, we found Malik Mustafa, what do we need Huff for? They kind of are redundant in a sense that Malik Mustafa is faster, stronger, and a little bit more dynamic than Talanoa Hufanga. Now, I understand that in our defense, we don't traditionally do the free safety, strong safety deal. We basically interchange safeties, and they both have dual responsibilities based off of the strength of the call defense. I get that. But we don't have a free safety on this team. We don't. And right now, we're really talking about for this stage, if we're still in the game talking about DJ Reed, then somebody needs to start having real conversations about why we drafted a safety so high. All right, if you could find Malik Mustafa in the later rounds of the draft, it kind of makes. Well, wait a minute, we didn't draft Huff that high. I'm sorry. It kind of makes Huff expendable. For me, the money that he was about to get paid, we've kind of been circling this issue with Huff before. But what had happened was that we had a really big deal with where we thought that we were going to lose Huff because we weren't going to be able to pay him, and then he got hurt. Now, since he's been back, he still got hurt multiple times throughout the year, so it's not as if he can necessarily stay healthy. And I just would go with the young gun and actually go get a free safety. I think it's time to go get one. Joshua Pepper says Mustafa got trucked. Dude, he ran up and throttled down and got hit and got ran over. It wasn't like 1-for-1 trucking, like head up. But there's guys that we can get. I mean, in safety, for me, safety is a position where we could really get some value in this year's draft. We really can for safety.
I think they're going to let him go too. I don't really know what Robert Saleh thinks of Talanoa Hufanga. It seemed like he was a D'Amico guy. D'Amico was the defensive coordinator when they drafted him. D'Amico made him the starter, and D'Amico seemed to really believe in him and trust him to play with instincts in ways that I don't know that Sorensen or Steve Wilks did. I think there's no coincidence that Hufanga had his best season under D'Amico, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hufanga wants to go back to playing with D'Amico. That being said, it's possible that Hufanga goes to Houston, stays healthy, plays really well, and the Niners regret letting go of an all-pro safety who's 25. He's not even 25 yet. He's 24.
Well, I got something for you, man. Like this year's draft, very good safeties in this year's draft. It's pretty deep. Malachi Moore out of Alabama is coming out this year. Jonas Sinker out of Virginia is coming out this year. I mean,
and the Niners have shown they can get good safeties in rounds 4 and 5.
Yeah, there's safeties in this year's draft. We can really solve that this year.
Yeah,
I love Malachi Moore.
There are safeties in free agency. Like there's Javon Holland, who will be expensive, but there's other guys like Justin Reed.
Look at you,
Justin Reed, Eric Reed's little brother, better player than Reed was. Won some championships, explosive, fast, good player.
Yeah, it's time for them to just go ahead and solve that. We need a free safety. We really haven't had the back end of our defense necessarily protected since Jimmy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're going to regret letting go of Hufanga. He didn't really he had to play with a club on his hand this year. I think he could be, someone's going to get him at 25 years old, coming off 2 injury prone seasons, probably on a discount, and you could get an all pro safety.
Club schmub. I'm over
schmub, man. He always seems to be around the ball. I like safeties like that. And as explosive as Malik Mustafa is, he has 1 interception and 5 pass breakups in his career. So I like him a lot, but man, I don't know. And I
how many picks does Huff have?
I feel like he could play free safety. He's
Malik?
not exactly big. Malik, yeah.
For me, I think free safety is a mentality rather than it is a skill. They both can get out and run in space. Being a ball hawk is definitely innate. You know, you have to really feel comfortable with playing that center fielder position, have good ball skills. But as far as I'm concerned, we don't have that true ball hawk guy that, you know, even for what Gip gave us when we had Tashawn Gibson, that was a plus athlete. Even with him being in the later years of his career.
Well, remember, Gip was a D'Amico guy too. The way Salah used to do it was on 3rd down, he would have Jimmy Ward kind of be the strong safety, manned up on the tight end, and he would put Tart in center field. And Tart wasn't a 4-3 runner, but he could cover some ground. He would just drop the ball. I'm sorry, Jaquaski. You had a nice. Sorry, but that's how Salah would do it. It's how he would do it.
Jaquaski was a cool dude too, wasn't he?
Do you think Mustafa could cover center field on 3rd downs?
No,
if you bring in pressure and you got. So that's the
thing.
I
don't want to say no. So yeah,
safety. Then Hufanga's in center field, and then Mustafa's on the tight end.
Yeah, I don't want to say that he's I don't want to limit Malik. We talked about this. Malik already has kind of like his NFL body. That's one thing that's awesome about him is that he came in with physicality on tap. My biggest thing is just where's his ceiling? You know, if Malik comes in and kind of puts on another 5 to 10 pounds, you know, now we're talking about a whole different level of athlete right now. So, you know, he's still a child as far as being a rookie is concerned, but I liken Malik Mustafa a little bit to Diamador Lenore. Diamador Lenore has always had like time on task. He's always had that dog in him, right? He's always been scrappy, but he had to bring his body with him 2 years ago. Once he came back with 12 pounds of muscle and a completely new frame, he had some confidence to add on to that body. He completely turned into a whole new player. Malik is already confident as confident could be. But if he could take the next step, I think it'll show levels on what you've been seeing out of Huff, because I think Huff came on so strong. And mind you, Malik is showing off on a bad defense. Would Huff been able to show this type of productivity if he would have came in as a rookie on this type of defense? Right? Even when Huff was young, there was a lot of things that Huff used to get picked on about. He used to get singled out, go deep on him all the time. And a lot of that stuff got forgiven because Huff was afforded the ability to pin his ears back and play free because he was on such a great defense. Malik didn't get that, and he still kind of rose to the top. So I just look at them differently.
The thing with Malik, I look at him differently too. I thought his interception in Seattle was like really nice, and I believe he was in center field and ranged over to the hashes to make the pick or to the numbers. And so I feel like he could do that role on 3rd down. Again, I don't know if he necessarily has the movement skill. Like, he's a 4th round pick. I don't know about his agility to like really play man-to-man bump and run coverage against some of the best tight ends in the league. I'm not saying he can't. I haven't seen him do it. I know Jimmy Ward could. And I know that's the skill set that Robert Salah is going to be looking for, because if you want to bring pressure on 3rd down, which Salah does, or he did with the Niners, then you'll play single high and you'll play man, and you need someone who can cover the tight end, or else you're going to get eaten alive over the middle quickly. And Salah always had Jimmy Ward, who won those matchups.
The tight end eraser. Remember, I used to always drop film. He used to drop film and talk about, like, remember how Jimmy used to drop film and nobody would really watch it, but he'd be like, dog, they don't even respect me, man. You see what I'm doing to these tight ends, bro? Like, y'all go see when I'm gone. Y'all go see when I'm gone. Like, like another tight end. Like the whole win, remember, we would like blow a whole team out. Jimmy would just drop film on him locking down the team's tight end that day. Like, look at this dude. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Didn't do nothing all week.
Like, he could do that to Kittle in practice.
He used to
Kittle's
erase him.
Player, but Kittle is not a premier route runner. Well, yeah. I don't want to knock Kittle, but like Kittle's at his best.
I know what you mean.
Y'all after the catch, and he's a big boy's load, but just one-on-one in practice, Jimmy Ward's a tough matchup.
Jimmy used to put the straps on him.
Jimmy Ward could cover wide receivers in those drills and would frequently. All right, I got another player for you.
Let's go, dog. Let's go.
Leonard Floyd is an interesting one. So ever since the Niners drafted Nick Bosa, they've been trying to find a bookend. And when Salah was here, he brought in D4. Didn't work out. When D'Amico became the defensive coordinator, brought in Samson Ebukam. Good player. Not here anymore. With Steve Wilks, they were scrambling. Drake Jackson. They brought in Chase Young. That guy's gone, and I don't think anyone's really thinking much about Drake Jackson anymore. And then last year, you had the Brandon Staley, Nick Sorensen experience. Nick Sorensen didn't really seem to have connections. Brandon Staley had a connection with Leonard Floyd, brought him on the team. Now it seems like Staley's going to be gone, and Floyd's going to be 33. And he was always kind of an awkward fit, 3-4 guy. Had 8.5 sacks. Run defense wasn't great. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Robert Saleh will want to keep Leonard Floyd?
No. Time to move on. Little long in the tooth. Been there, done that.
Like almost $8 million in base salary this year. I just can't see how they can stomach that.
I don't see it. I mean, if you look at what Leonard Floyd did this year, he had 8.5 sacks. He had 42 combined tackles for 25 solo tackles and 16 QB hits. I mean, for 32 years old, kind of being a stopgap, waiting on a younger guy to actually show us more production past that, sure. But really, for me, you just got to kind of look at where a lot of this production comes from. He had 2 sacks versus Chicago.
His PFF grade, 53.5, ranked 163 out of 211 edge rushers in the NFL.
Come on, man. Let's look at it this way, man. He had 1 sack versus the Jets, 1 sack versus Arizona. He had 1 sack versus Kansas City, a sack and a half against Seattle, 2 sacks versus Chicago. All right. 2 in Green Bay. And that was it. He was done. So after Chicago, the best that you got out of him is 6 tackles combined. That's for the Rams, Miami, Detroit, and Arizona. The last month of the season, Leonard Floyd gave us 6 tackles. All right. 5 solos, if you really want to be, exact. So we need more production than that. It was okay to have him there as a name, and that's what bad teams do. Bad teams go with name recognition over actual production, right? Good teams realize that production comes before name recognition. That's why we got rid of Chase Young so quickly, because good teams realize even though you come in with big cachet, big pick numbers, what you do on the field day by day, week by week is what matters. Leonard Floyd fell off the face of the earth for the last month. A lot of what he did, if you look at it, he had a lot of big lulls in the season. I mean, he had his first sack against the Jets. His second sack wasn't until week 5 against Arizona. You know what I'm saying? So it's too far and in between. I understand if you compile 17 whole games together, you scrape the pot, you'll pick up something in the spoon. But as far as like actually being productive and somebody that can actually push our team into a fighting form, I don't see it. I think we move on from Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems pretty clear they're going to draft an edge rusher. And then, look, they got to improve their run defense. Robert Saleh isn't going to – I just don't see him starting a 3'4", 240-pound outside linebacker at defensive end when he's trying to improve the run defense. I could see him saying, Floyd, you'll come off the bench and we'll play you on third downs, but that's a lot of money for a third down. Designated pass rusher, and I don't even know if he would want that job. So, and I don't even know if they draft an edge rusher, that guy probably is going to be much more explosive than Leonard Floyd. Saleh wants someone with that quick first step who can be the first guy in the in the pocket to disrupt it, and that's not Leonard Floyd anymore, not even close. So I just don't. I think they're going to draft the guy, and then I could see them cutting Leonard Floyd in September, like right before the season starts, when it's clear that the rookie's better than him.
They're going to Taco Charlton. They're going to give him the Taco Charlton treatment. Remember that?
Sorry.
He came in, looked amazing for like the first couple of days. And then it was like, oh, all right, I'm hurt. I'm done for the year. And he's gone. So, yeah, I think that, the Leonard Floyd experiment was good while it lasted. But, it's like meeting somebody. It's like falling in love on like your family trip. It's like, this isn't serious. I got to go home. This is over. It's been a week.
Yeah. And also, cool. Like once the guy who brought you into the organization leaves, all bets are off. You don't have your advocate there anymore. Like Brandon Staley was your guy. As long as Brandon Staley was the assistant head coach or whatever role, there's going to be someone at the board meeting saying, no, we need to keep Leonard. He's great. I developed him. Now that guy's gone, and Robert Salah could say, not only my style.
Yeah, 100%.
My preference.
Yeah, there's really nobody there to speak for the old dog. It's time for him to go.
Okay, one more player. Keeper cut, Yatir Gross-Matos.
Cut him, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Injury prone. He's not consistent. And I'm so glad you brought this up. The only reason why you keep a Yatir Gross-Matos is because you have a Leonard Floyd. You have somebody that can outsource elements of his game that he cannot do, which is rush the passer. He's not very good at it. So really what we were doing is outsourcing like a full player in two guys. And we said, hey, Leonard Floyd, we need you to come in on the prove it downs, on the third downs, to come in here and develop pass rush for us. And Yatir Gross-Matos, you need to hold the edge and be a demon in the run front, of which he did neither. So also Leonard Floyd ended up having to play much more than Yatir Gross-Matos because Yatir Gross-Matos couldn't stay healthy. So no, it's time to just go ahead and move on from all of that. He was injury prone when we got him from Carolina. That was his MO there. He was a high draft pick, so he's already somebody that's underperforming. And, the last thing we want is another Drake Jackson. Yatir Gross-Matos gives me Drake Jackson vibes.
I would agree. He was hurt most of the time. It seemed like he made little brief cameo appearances and would make some impact here and there. But again, for a guy who's like scheduled to make $8, $9, $10 million, to do what? To play 11 games and come off the bench and give you 4 sacks? Like, no, absolutely not. He's got to go. And again, I don't know who brought him to this team. Maybe this was a Chris Kasarik suggestion, because I thought when they brought him on, people were saying like, oh, he could be the next Charles Omenihu. Just wait until Chris Kasarik gets his hands on him. He's going to turn him into an incredible interior pass rusher. Like, can we just take a brief minute to talk about how wildly overrated Chris Kasarik is? Like, maybe he's a great guy and maybe he's a good D-line coach, but people talk like he can just work magic and turn water into wine. It's like, who did he do that with?
Flush the Kasarik glazing, bro. It's over. Like, dude, if there is anybody who got away with murder this season where nobody talked about their performance or the lack thereof, it's Coach Kasarik. That defensive line was horrible, bro. No, like
Forster's getting Colton McKivitz to play well, and you got like, none of your projects are panning out.
Come on. All right. So Forrester loses. Can you imagine what that D-line looks like without Nick Bosa for the remainder of the year? What if Nick Bosa pulled a Trent Williams? It was like, hey, man, off the field issues, things happen. Warranted. We know how sensitive the fans get. Trent Williams getting sat down was warranted. But what if that happened with Nick Bosa? What would the D-line look like without Nick Bosa for the rest of the year, dude? Coach Kasarik, hey, man, and then you know what's even crazier? You have to lay this at his feet because of how much money he gets paid. You're the highest paid defensive line coach in the league. You're getting paid like a coordinator. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that I've noticed is that all right, so explain this to me, Grant. How is it that on one hand, Coach Forrester gets bottom of the barrel like off the scrap heap offensive linemen to turn into an offensive line and actually put out product. But then Coach Kasarik gets every draft pick and free agency, damn near every high free agency pick to come over to the D line. But he doesn't get any type of scrutiny the way that Coach Forrester gets for the offensive line at all.
I know. I mean, Drake Jackson, well, he's a bit of a project, but if you give him to Chris Kasarik, watch out. Robert Beal, it didn't really come together for him at Georgia, but 5-star recruit, got the trace, give him to Chris Kasarik, watch out.
I said that.
Javon Kinlaw, he's got to work on his pad level, but if anyone can get him to do that, it's Chris Kasarik. Apparently not.
Yeah. And
the list goes on and on. So Yatir Gross-Matos, I think he's probably on the way out as well. Let's see what the good people of the chat have to say. Serenity says, thanks for helping me forget the rest of the country's chaos. Kinlaw's at least average. Welcome, Salah. What's going on with the country?
We have no idea. We're just moving and grooving on YouTube, bro.
Yeah. I was golfing this morning. Everything was good. At the golf course. Lamont 757 says Kyle will get a punter or kicker 3rd round. Trade Moody for a UDFA. Kyle Shanahan don't care about O-line and may even draft the next mascot. What Niner is at Senior Bowl? You think Kyle's at the Senior Bowl?
No.
Why?
He's got better things to do.
Because fuck it. That's why.
Exactly. He's not going to that.
Absolutely not. I mean, we are doing though right now.
Kyle wouldn't even want to be seen like he's trying. He wouldn't even want to be seen. Yeah.
Sorry. Senior Bowl? No.
No.
That's what other coaches do. All right. Sleeper picks. Super Bowl edition. Coach, who you like here? Patty Mahomes?
Yes.
Barkley? S. Barkley?
I'm sorry, it's Patrick Mahomes.
It's Patrick. Sorry.
You look at no, I'm just saying, like it's gonna be Patrick Mahomes. I think the Chiefs are gonna win. Okay. I just don't believe in what the Eagles can do. The Chiefs have a better coach, right? They got a run game and they got defense, right? The Eagles have a run game and they got defense, but Jalen Hurts ain't outplaying Patrick Mahomes.
Sir, this is a Wendy's, and I'm asking you to pick more or less on the passing yards. Would you like fries with your order?
Fries.
Okay.
More.
251.5 passing yards, more or less.
More.
I liked the candor, though. I appreciated it. It made it a better answer. 251.5. You think he's going to go? We threw for like 170 something in the last Super Bowl against the Eagles. Did you know that?
No. I didn't know. Like, no. Okay, because like I'm in take mode, and I thought you were just asking me a take, and I really have not like switched over to the fact that we're pseudo gambling.
We're in sleeper mode.
We're pseudo gambling.
This is different. Picks.
All right, sorry.
Hurts. Last time, I think he threw 1 touchdown pass in the Super Bowl and ran for 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Ran for 3 touchdowns against Washington last week. Do you want to do rushing touchdowns, or do you want to go completions, picks, pass? What are you feeling?
Touchdowns.
Anytime touchdowns? No,
anytime touchdowns.
I don't think they got that. Mm-hmm. I wish they had that, but they don't. I've talked to them about it. What about just straight rushing touchdowns? Half.
All right.
Like, obviously he's going to get one. Like, why would they? That's why I love sleeper, because they just give you layups. Xavier Worthy. He really burst onto the scene in the AFC Championship game. What do you think about him? 54.5 rushing yards, more or less.
I'd give it to him. More.
It seems like he's becoming a key part of their offense, because I don't know that Travis Kelce has another gear that he can tap into at this age.
I think it's pretty much one gear. We're just, we'll be happy that Travis is in gear.
63.5 receiving yards for Travis.
Less.
Sorry, Travis.
Don't they just be milling around?
Gone bad. Pause.
Huh?
Nothing.
He just be milling around. Like, he don't even look like he on the team.
and then he taunts people. Saquon Barkley, rushing yards, 114.5.
Yes, he's gonna go for more. Yo, Chiefs couldn't stop the run against the Bills. You saw James Cook; they was going off. Couldn't stop the run.
All right, I think that's enough for my picks. I'm gonna flex the picks, submit the picks, and then boom, you want to make some picks, use promo code Cohn when you download Sleeper app and get entered to win this beautiful signed George Kittle jersey over here, right off camera, right to my right, with a bunch of friends of mine sitting here cheering me on, giving me thumbs up, saying, Grant, we all appreciate the work that you do. Can I shout out Ron real quick? I went golfing this morning with Ryan Hensley and San Leandro. And
What's up, Ron?
I was walking out, and this guy was like, hey, Grant. And I looked around. He was like, real serious. He was like, I really appreciate the work that you guys do. And I was like, thanks. What's your name? He said, Ron, I really appreciate the work that you guys do. So I appreciate when a stranger approaches you in a very serious way and just like gives you a thumbs up. It was nice.
Hey, Ron, we appreciate the work that you do.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, man. Niners got the 11th pick in the draft, and I'm more interested in the combine and the Senior Bowl than I've been in since 2021, since they picked Trey Lance. I like a good mock draft. Okay, it's just hard when they start in round 2 because you really don't know who's getting. But 11, there is so much data and intel, and I feel like we can at least try to pretend to be general managers. So, how do you feel like the 49ers could approach this draft? They clearly need to address their defense, and they got Robert Salah in here to help. What do you think?
All right, so number 1, trenches. All right, so
they're going to take a wide receiver. Got it.
Definitely. And a kicker and a running back on the third. So look, this is what I think the Niners should do. It's not only about draft picks, but it's about draft order. Okay? I think that the Niners, we are in a very good position right now when it comes to the draft because we pick 11, which means that we're right outside a run. And what I mean by a run is typically in a draft, there's about 2 to 3 great players that are the cream of the crop of every position skill. I mean, every skill position, right? And that's every position. So but if you get double, maybe 6 to 7 guys, that's what you would consider a deep draft, because once you follow down lower into the draft, it's not that much of a drop off. For me, this is a very light tackle draft. Okay, this is a very light quarterback draft. This is a very light receiver draft. Okay, all of which some teams ahead of us need. But whatever run goes into the first 10 picks, whatever multiple positions gets taken off of the board, that's what I would lean on to the other trenches positions to start picking. What does that mean? We have a light tackle draft, okay? So if we're looking at offensive tackles in this year's draft, right about now, you've got Kelvin Banks Jr., Will Campbell, and Ariante Irsay out of Minnesota. Outside of those top 3 guys, you kind of start dropping off into the second round, third round. If we have a run on tackles and we know that Kelvin Banks is gone, Will Campbell's gone, Ariota Irsay is gone, then we can really start looking at what are some other guys that we have at D tackle. Maybe we can pick up a Mason Graham out of Michigan, or Walter Nolan, which I know is pretty much the hot name right now out of everybody, out of a camp, right? There's also some guys that we can go into is that if DTs and tackles are taken off early into the draft and we still get quarterbacks and some guys and receivers, then we can go to edge. We have an Abdul Carter that can sit there at 11 that I would be okay picking up there, all right? We can also put ourselves in a position where James Pierce Jr. at Tennessee, all right? He's not necessarily a home run hitter guy, but at 11, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee is perfect for me. I would not be mad at that pick. So right about now, if you're going to get a defensive tackle,
what do you like about James Pierce Jr.? Twitchy, quick first step,
yes.
Explosive.
Yes.
Handy.
One thing that I will tell you right there about James Pierce is that he's a big body, okay, as far as edge is concerned. He's 6'5", 243, all right? He's got strong hands, plays with a lot of bend, has a big motor, all right? His first rep looks like his last rep, all right? I love him. Now, for me, Mason Graham is supposed to be the one-of-one defensive tackle, but it's Walter Nolan for me all day. And if we were going to pick a defensive tackle at 11, I don't think that there's anybody outside of Walter Nolan that would actually be worth it at 11. So I would stick with Walter Nolan if we had to go defensive tackle at that high. I'm of the mindset to stay at 11 because we don't have that many high draft picks anymore on our team. Last year, and we really need to take advantage of being on this side of the draft because customarily we don't get to pick this high. So you might as well try your best to get a generational player that can give you some bang for the buck. So right now, that's how I would do it. I would juxtapose the runs of the 10 picks ahead of me and then try to get onto the other skill positions to be able to pick up the cream of the crop on those guys. Now, as far as center is concerned, I don't think that we should be picking up a center anywhere near the first 2 rounds of the draft. This year's center class is very weak, but there are some very good guys like a Drew Kendall out of Boston College. I wouldn't mind picking him up in the 3rd round with the pick that you let me know about is our compensatory pick in the 3rd round. So the main thing for me is get an elite guy at 1. If you get Will Banks, if you get Banks or Campbell at 11, that's a no-brainer. If you get Walter Nolan at 11, that's a no-brainer. If you get any one of the top edge rushers out of Abdul Carter, maybe a James Pierce, that's a no-brainer. But again, I also believe that there's other pass rushers that you can get later in the draft, like a Mike Green out of Marshall, like a Princely UMAN out of Ole Miss that was previously at Florida. So there's a lot of edges and defensive linemen in this draft. So that's the draft this year. That's the theme. It's D-line and edges. A lot of them. Lots.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd like to get an offensive tackle, there's Kelvin Banks, Will Howard. I'm not sure that Will Howard will be there at 11. Kelvin Banks looks good. They could even play him at guard for a while, for a few years until Trent Williams is gone. Then there's Josh Simmons, who's interesting, although that just feels like a Trent Baalke pick. You tore your ACL. Yeah. You're going to miss all of training camp. Like, you're not going to go to the combine. Like, no, I don't think so. Because if Trent Baalke made that pick, you would just laugh and be like, again, you did it again. You can't do that again.
Another hurt player. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're probably not going to take an offensive tackle this year, even though they haven't taken one in freaking years. They do need someone to replace Jalen Moore. They need a swing tackle. So maybe they draft him one in like round 4 or round 6. They don't have a 5th round pick this year. So I would agree they go D-line first. Look what the Rams did. The Rams drafted Kobe Turner and Byron Young 2 years ago. They drafted Jared Verse and Braden Fiskey last year. And now they have one of the best D-lines in the league, and they're all on rookie deals. The Niners got to be jealous of that, and they don't have anything like that because they've drafted Drake Jackson, Kalia Davis, and Robert Beal. So they got to get serious. And I think if everything were the same at the 11th pick, kind of like to take the D tackle because you need to have a 3-down D tackle who's good against the run and pass. But the way this team's set up, like they could theoretically get a designated pass rusher, edge rusher who's no good against the run and pair him with Bosa and then get someone else to like play on base downs if you had to. But if you had like your Jalen Carter or like your Chris Jones, it would really make Bosa a lot better and it would really improve the run defense.
I just don't think that helps us. I'm tired of piecemealing together, but we need to be finding it whole players. We need to get a guy where you see all the tools that he has and develop them along the way. We didn't piecemeal together our offensive line. We lucked up and just kept getting 1st-round picks who needed a different change of scenery. That's what happened, right? These guys that we got on.
The only thing is if you're going to go edge rusher in the 1st round to get like a 3-down Pro Bowl edge rusher, then in round 2, if you're looking at D tackles, you may be looking at more of like a 2-down D tackle who's really good against the run, but maybe not someone you want on the field for 3rd down when you're trying to get exotic and rush the quarterback. And that's fine too. Those players are important.
Yeah. There's guys like that, like Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. He's a big body, 6'3", 340, almost kind of like a taller DJ Jones, not necessarily any frills to him straight up and down, but he's got great feet, very athletic for his size. But he's just kind of like a brick. He's not necessarily going to give you any type of special effects. What you see is what you get with him, but he's a solid guy. Almost as if Evan Anderson kind of grew into like a veteran on our team, Evan Anderson would probably be Kenneth Grant, right? With just a bigger guy, knows his rules, plays strong, and plays 3 downs. This year, there's only maybe 2 edges and 2 D tackles that I would draft that high at 11.
I have a question for you. How interested or intrigued are you by Evan Anderson?
Not much.
Not much.
Because I feel like we put a lot on him because he's one of ours and we love him, but he came in out of shape. He had to get his body together, and he played good minutes on a bad defense that needed a little bit of continuity. Does Evan Anderson play on our team, or does he even make our team when we're at our best? When our defense was, does Evan Anderson make our team last year? I don't think so.
No, but he would have been on the practice squad. And I think what's cool about him is he got an opportunity to get on the field. And even though he didn't have his NFL body and he wasn't in great shape, he flashed.
He did.
He
flash.
made plays. I'm intrigued by him. I want to see what he looks like in year 2 after a full off season and a full year in an NFL weight training program. I'm not saying he's going to end up being a starter in the NFL, but he just might. Like, he's got a chance to be someone important for this team.
How we got him, to your point, how we got him doesn't matter anymore. He's a player. He's one of ours. And if he can develop and be better than what he was last year, I mean, he's an asset. I look at guys
you gotta
that
put in the work to remake his body for sure.
Yeah. And for me, he's just not out of the woods yet. He needs to show more consistency. Because you can't be, this is my fear, and maybe this isn't Evan Anderson's fault. My fear with Evan Anderson is that we get another Drake Jackson on our hands, where year after year after year we're waiting, and he never really comes into fruition of his true skill. So I'm willing to give him more of a shot. You know, I'll say this: he definitely didn't play himself off the team. So there was never a time where I thought that Evan Anderson was a liability. I just think that there's a rookie that could come in better than him for what he is now.
I would agree. But when you're looking at the defensive tackles on the roster right now, Malik Collins,
we keep him.
Jordan Elliott, and Evan Anderson. Like, the one I'm interested in is the young guy who we haven't seen too much of yet, but we'll see. So I think we both agree first 2 rounds, probably both D-line, 1 D tackle, 1 DN, depending on how the board falls. If the best player available with the 11th pick is a D tackle, then maybe look for a D end in round 2, vice versa. Then you get to round 3, the Niners have the 75th pick, and they're coming off a draft where they just got a starting borderline Pro Bowl right guard in round 3. They need a left guard. I think Spencer Burford probably get the first crack at it. They could re-sign Ben Barch, although he's been hurt a lot in the NFL. I would think they would try to draft another guard in round 3, considering they just succeeded. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Also, if they don't do anything in free agency, I think the 3rd round is where they would go center. This isn't a really good center draft. Really, if you break into the first 5 centers, you're going all over the draft board as far as like what their worth is. Just in 5 players. When you get to the 5th center, you're probably looking at a fringe 7th round pick guy. So the list is very short. For me, the best guy out there right now is Jared Wilson out of UGA. Squatty, strong. You could get Jared Wilson in the 3rd round, at the top of the 3rd round, maybe. Okay. But if we're being more practical, for me, Drew Kendall, Boston College. If you like Jake Brindle, you like having that light center that's fast, good feet, that could get to the 2nd level, more of a finesse blocker, kind of cut with a scalpel instead of an axe, a guy that can really get to the point of attack and give clean lanes. Drew Kendall's your guy. I think he was a 5th-year senior or 4-year senior out of Boston College. No, as a matter of fact, I think he left early. They were gutted. He's really fast, elite feet. He's got soft hands, a bit of a waist bender. That's why I think he's going to be in the 3rd round. He's not necessarily a brawler where he's going to take on blocks at the 2nd level and just really start decleating guys. But what he does do, remarkably, he's got great pass protection, especially with bull rush moves with nose tackles. The kid's got really good hips. To be 6'4", he's very flexible. All right. And one of those things that I know Kyle loves to do is he loves to pull that center on that play action motion to get the center to go block on the overhang. He kind of has his PhD in that. Drew Kendall out of Boston College
from Georgia.
No, I'm talking for Drew Kendall out of Boston College. Jerry Wilson, I touched on him lightly. I just think it's a little bit of a pipe dream for us to get him. I don't think that we need a center in the second round. That's a little too rich. But in the third round, that compensatory pick, I think that picking up Drew Kendall in the third round is great value. And he would start.
If they could get someone that they could stash at left guard for a year and then move to center when Jake Brennel's done, that would work too. Someone who could play both positions, kind of like the Eagles with Landon Dickerson can go left guard, center.
Well, if they really felt like getting a guard that they could get something into, there's a guy that I like out of LSU, Miles Frazier. He's somebody else that's pretty good. Big guy, 6'6", 330. One thing I like about Miles Frazier is that he's a finisher, and he's played big-time ball for a while. That's somebody else that they could stick at left guard and kind of forget about him for a couple of years. There's a lot of good guards in this draft. Not so much center, not so much tackle. It's a big draft. It's a big guard draft. It's a big interior D-line draft. That's where the meat of the draft is this year. So just picking guards high, picking any type of guard high, I think would just kind of be wasting your money. One guy that I was through the moon about is not even being talked about right now as far as big-time guards, and that's Tate Ratledge, the other guard from Georgia, 6'6", 320, guy that's played a lot of years out there. But I think that Tate Ratledge is going to be a guy that's probably going to get picked up probably in like maybe third round. So there's a lot of guards, not that many centers, but D-line is where we should really kind of spend our money.
Well, again, they need a left guard. I don't consider Spencer Burford a starting offensive lineman in the NFL. He's a good backup, but he'll probably get first crack to start there. They drafted a starting right guard last year in round 3. I would expect that they would look to draft a guard with one of their third round picks this year, maybe the first one, 75. I think they took Pooney with 80 something last year. So if the Niners really do go D-line, O-line, first 3 picks, that would be a very mature, sensible, sober draft for Kyle Shanahan. And then you get the last pick, the comp pick in round 3. What does he get to do to sort of offset all of that maturity and boringness?
Get a running back.
There you go. There it is.
Get the draft running back.
Yeah.
I mean,
hell yeah.
I just think all is not lost. We kind of got exactly what we needed. Last year was an O-line draft, and that's fine. We got a starter. I'm not complaining. Whatever. This year, it's a D-line draft. They didn't even draft D-line last year. They have to draft D-line this year. They've got to get the middle of the field back. They got to get that good DT. But this year is not a trade-up year at all. I would be disappointed if they traded up at all this draft.
Thing, though. Let's get serious, though. They can't draft a running back. They need a safety.
Yeah.
They need a linebacker.
They need a safety. Yep.
So, Kyle, we love you. You're losing Jordan Mason probably. Sorry, dude. Ask Bobby Turner to find a gem as an undrafted free agent because you need a freaking safety and you need another linebacker and you probably need another D lineman too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. But
sorry, Kyle.
This year,
you got to be serious about this.
Tons of safeties this year.
Yeah.
We can get a free safety in the draft.
I mean, they drafted Various Moore in round 3 once upon a time. He wasn't good, but they've looked for those speedy free safeties in that spot before. Maybe they'll do better this time.
Malachi Moore, man, Alabama. It's my dog. Get him in there. Senior. I would love to see him as a Niner, man. Malachi, he's a leader. I'm telling you, you want to talk about a guy who's a ball hawk and plays outside of himself. I'm telling you, Malachi Moore would be an amazing pickup. And that's like 4th round, 3rd round. Like, we can get Malachi Moore. We don't got to go 1st, 2nd round to get Malachi.
Real quick before we leave, it's official. The Jets have named Steve Wilks their defensive coordinator. He's going to be calling the plays. Aaron Glenn says he wants to focus on being the best head coach he can be. So he brings in Steve Wilks, who was not in the NFL last year after the Niners fired him late in the process. He had to sit at home, probably fish. Niners probably paid him a lot of money to sit at home and watch Nick Sorensen bungle his defense. Now he's back with the Jets. What do you think?
I think it's a good move. Coach Wilks, you look at his career, he's kind of been jilted a couple of times. It just wasn't with the Niners. He got jilted with Arizona, got jilted with the Carolina Panthers, came here with the Niners, and same old song. He's class personified as far as being able to be professional. We haven't heard a peep out of him as far as how these things have went. And for what it's worth, he came in here, got a defense all the way to the Super Bowl and held Patrick Mahomes under 20-some-odd points before overtime while losing Dre Greenlaw. And he didn't get to run his own defense while doing the whole thing. So I'm glad that he found footing. And to be honest with you, when you fire a guy like Coach Wilks and he automatically gets another DC job, that should let you know how the league feels about him. You know, like, it's not like Nick Sorensen had a bad showing at being a DC for the Niners and he went somewhere else and somebody said, you know what, Nick, we believe in you. You know, what happened with the Niners?
No, they did. It was special teams. The Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened with him is that, no, they told Nick, all right, Nick, you kind of flew too close to the sun. Let's come on back to something that's around your wheelhouse. You can tell that the league didn't feel that way about Coach Wilks at all. You know, he's at least, at worst, he's a coordinator in this league. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it works out for the Niners because they end up getting Robert Salah, but like, it's just the Steve Wilks saga is a lot like the Trey Lance saga. Like, why were you here? You never really got treated well. You got scapegoated and spit out. And it's like, that was really a waste of time and resources for the 49ers. You brought in Steve Wilks. You didn't really let him do his thing. Then you scapegoated him. Then you replaced him with someone who was way worse. Then you like threw away a season. But, you know, it's okay because you got Robert Salah now. It's okay because you got Brock Purdy now. Yeah. But whoa. What was that? You fired Wilks for Sorensen? What? How did that happen? Crazy. Anyway.
Well, hey, man, time flies when you're looking for a scapegoat. It is what it is.
Fun.
Yeah.
All right. That's the last news. Real quick before we bounce. Madmen 49 says, what do you guys think about that Mad Max rumor? Should it be entertained? And is it even possible? What, Max Crosby? Is it a rumor?
I don't think it's a rumor. I just think that it was replied to by Diamond Lenore. I don't think that it actually has legs. How many more
mega contracts can the Niners put on their books?
That's another thing, dog. Like, we're honestly becoming hype beasts. Like, you know what we're doing? We're that kid at school that the first day of school, we don't wear nothing. We just wear regular clothes. We just sit back and look at what everybody else got on. And then we go home to our mom and dad and say, hey, Mom, I want these shoes. Well, what are they called? I don't know. I just took a picture of them. I want these shoes. I want this coat. I want this hat. It's like, bro, we got to get one of the biggest things about always going after somebody else's players, no matter how good they are, is that we're always taking somebody else's identity into the building. The Niners need to get back to building their own identity through developing players and getting them through the draft. High-priced players for the sake of having them to kind of turn the tips of tide. Like, that's something that winning teams do when they're like a Super Bowl away. We're way out of the one player away sweepstakes. We're not there anymore. One player ain't going to fix this.
Hell no. Mad Max. Smack Jones 9-1. Because again, you bring in Max Crosby, and again, you still can't stop the run. You got no D tackles. You got no weak side linebacker. Your safeties are questionable. Smack Jones 919 says, great show, fellas. Grant, how do I hear some of your Spotify playlists, man? You got over 400 of them. Put me on. Man, hold on.
What kind of playlist you got there, Iggy? What you got, dog?
Man,
you know what? Playlist. If YouTube let us play any type of music, bruh, this channel would be crazy. My channel would be so lit if I could play whatever I wanted to.
I really wish I could do that.
Yeah.
But they won't let us. Hold on. I'm not finishing until
somebody said it's all ABBA.
It is all ABBA. Boom. Okay.
Pete 98-146.
Hold on. Texting it to myself. I'm like,
what you got, cuz? What we waiting on?
Boom, boom, boom. Here we go.
You know what I'm saying?
My thing. I hear my dad listening to this in the other room. No healthy upstream. I can't even do it, dude. I can't even figure it. Anyway, I'll put it in the chat another time. Sorry. Callie
Come
Kid
on,
says,
Grant.
what about Jake Majors in the 4th round at C? Jake Majors, you got any opinion?
Jake fucking Majors. This is my only thing, man. I have no like Jake Majors at Texas. Barely draftable. I hate to do that.
Draftable.
Yeah. He's not somebody who I would take seriously. I mean, if we're gonna go Drake Majors, we might as well just go ahead and keep Drake Nugent. He's kind of on that level. He doesn't necessarily
Drake Nugent.
Yeah, remember that, and we'll forget about Drake Majors.
Joseph Ernberg says, what about wide receiver, limited BA, and bad Debo? Slow. Yeah, that's kind of scary. What is Ayuk going to be when he gets back? He was like a 4-5 guy before the injury. He's a 4-6 guy. What is that?
We about to have 3 versions of Jawan Jennings running around on that field. It's going to be Jawan, fast Jawan, and slow Jawan. It's going to be, that's what it's going to be.
And white Jawan.
And white Jawan. Yep. Who's actually not fast. I like that. And white Jawan.
All right, on that note, the show's over. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see soon what Robert Salah does to change the defense.
Vanilla Ice Jawan.
That's right. All right, man. Coach, good stuff. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Good show, bro.
Good show.